country needs.
Feed your farm and pets for less this weekend at Cal Ranch. From May 29th through the 31st, stock up and save up to 30% off. Get a free large bag of poultry feed when you buy 3 from trusted brands like Nutrina, Purina, and Country Companion. Cal Ranch has deals to fuel the whole barn, including Loyal Life large breed dog food for $8 off and Nutrina Rocky Mountain Sweet Mix for $3 off. Now is the perfect time to stock up on equine essentials with feed and supplements plus salt and mineral blocks. Find special offers on Triple Crown, Safe Choice, Taste of the Wild, Blue Buffalo, and more. Whatever your pets and livestock need, you'll find the best brands and the best prices this weekend at your local Cal Ranch.
Your local Cal Ranch, just what the country needs.
Save on feed and pet supplies this Friday through Sunday at Cal Ranch.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only 2 things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. So that makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And we welcome you to the Garden Guide on this Saturday morning. We'll feel right along with Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden as we want to talk about all things lawn and garden and everything that goes with it, including the insects and the weeds and everything else that we're seeing right now. And we can talk a little bit about Mother Nature, too, because with the showers that we've got right now, it is going to impact how much we water a little bit.
Absolutely. Depending on how much water we get, you don't have to have your sprinklers on for a couple days. So, if we get a half an inch of rain out of this storm or, anywhere between a half inch and an inch, you're good for 5 to 7 days. It's like you won't have to water again. So usually with each watering application, you're applying about a half an inch of water. So if we get a half inch of water, you're good for 2 or 3 days.
A little while.
If we get more, up to a week.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is awesome. And it's great for plants if you've been planting in your gardens just like everybody else has, myself included.
Yes.
Tomatoes, peppers, squashes, melons, cucumbers, they're going to love a little bit cooler temperatures and the extra rain. They like it when they get transplanted and you get a little cool weather after that.
All right. Excellent. So, a lot to talk about. Now, we aren't able to take phone calls today for the show, but we're going to be answering a lot of questions from the store, people that have come into Anderson Seed and Garden, and just things that we're seeing around neighborhoods throughout the area. And first, we should start off, Mark, with what's going on this weekend at Anderson.
Yeah, this
Seed
weekend
Garden.
at Anderson's, we've got our 6-inch pansies still on sale. So they're $3 for 6-inch pansies, and they're gorgeous. They're nice and big. They're they're in full bloom, and great time to take those and transplant those into a shadier location in your yard. So we're moving them from full sun locations, recycling these pansies and trying to move them to a shadier location for the summer, because for spring they look great in full sun, but when it starts to get really, really hot the next couple weeks, they're not going to look as great. And so now's the time to get those moved and transplanted to a nice new shady location, and you'll get that bloom period all summer long for those pansies. $3 for the 6-inch pansies. We just got a shipment of perennials and new shrubs in, and the perennials look amazing. So lots of great looking perennials that are in bloom and some that are about ready to bloom. Tons of different shade lovers as well as full sun perennials. They'll do great this time of year transplanting those, and so a full selection of perennials. And we did just get another truckload of shrubs in, so we're loaded back up on shrubs. Greenhouses are full. We've got tomatoes and peppers and squashes and melons and cucumbers. All those plants that you want to get transplanted. If you haven't planted yet, there's no big rush. We got plenty of time. Looks like the weather's going to be great next week.
Yeah.
Good time to get out and do some more planting, especially for all of those tender crops that we are hopefully, fingers crossed, we are completely past frost for this year until September, October. That's fine for it to freeze again at that point. But right now we're saying plant all those tender crops, squashes, melons, pumpkins, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers. They are all good to go. Like
everything
right now.
Can go in.
Yeah. I did transplant my tomatoes and peppers this last week. Got those into the garden, and they're flourishing. So they're doing really, really well. Compost tea. They all got compost tea when they got planted. Nice. I added some of the green aminos, which really helps with the transplant shock. And just really, the plants are just taking off like crazy, and they've only been planted just a few days. And nobody's wilting or sad or unhappy because they got transplanted, which happens sometimes when you're planting. You can have that transplant shock sneak in, even if you're gentle and careful with those plants, moving them to a new location. So we've got some tips and some techniques for our listeners if you want to be more successful when you're transplanting.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot we can talk about, and we'll get back to the store. I know we were over there last weekend, and it was packed. A lot of people getting
that's the way
seeds,
we like.
getting
That's the way we like it. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely that time of year.
Keeps things more interesting, and it's just a fun place to be right now, where we have all the flowers and they're all in bloom, and we've got all the vegetables, and so the greenhouses just really feel like spring. And then you go out into the nursery section, and there's all the trees, and they look great, and all the shrubs, and the shrubs are in bloom, and then we've got roses that are all blooming just outside the back gate, and so a little bit of everything at Anderson's right now, and it makes you really feel like spring. And tons of people are coming in with whether it's bug problems already or weed problems, and so we're able to spend a lot of time with people, help them figure out what's going on, what's going to be the best solution for them, help them figure out how to use that solution, and then send them on their way, and hopefully they're successful every single time. Yeah.
Well, and maybe starting out with gardening, because, you can pretty much put in everything right now. What are some of those tips that you have to be able to help you with reducing transplant shock?
Right. So when I transplant my tomatoes and my peppers, but this also goes for all the vines as well, too, so squashes, melons, cucumbers, what I do is I've got a big wheelbarrow, and I've got some planting mix that I put into the wheelbarrow. Our Royal Gold planting mix is like amazing, and I'll mix that 50-50 in with the soil that I take out of the holes. And so I've got my wheelbarrow, half full, and as I dig my holes, and I'll try and dig all the holes, and then I'll throw that soil into the wheelbarrow, and then I'll mix it all together. And so it's about a 50-50 mix, and I'll use that soil to transplant the plants with, so it's not just going right back into garden soil. It's the same. It's got a lighter mix. It's got coconut coir in it. It's got composted forest product. It's really, really nice to add into your soil. Plus it has a little charge of fertilizer in there as well too. All natural fertilizers like kelp meal and alfalfa meal and feather meal and bone meal. So a lot of really great organic natural fertilizers in there. We'll work that into the soil. And the key is when I dig my holes, if I've got a 4-inch tomato, I don't dig a 4-inch hole. I dig like a 12-inch hole. And so it's 3 to sometimes 2 to 3 times the size of the pot that the plant is in. That's how big of a hole I will dig, so that when I plant them, they have lots and lots of room to grow before they start hitting the harder, heavier, more compacted soil around the plant. So that's really critical. So I will dig those holes. I'll fill them back up with the soil that I took out. And then when I go to plant my plants, it's really easy because the soil is light and fluffy. I can just use my fingers, with gloves on, and just open that up and then put my plant in there. But that soil's been dug out, 12 or 14 inches, filled it back in with this really loose, light, nice, fluffy soil. Then I can dig a smaller hole with my hand and just make it big enough for the plant to go in there, but I've already conditioned the soil.
Around it,
yeah. So it's already been conditioned. So then the plant goes in, kind of tamp that down. When I dig those holes and I start to put them in there, I put a little bit of Bigfoot on the outside of the plant. So I use the granulated Bigfoot Put that down in the bottom of the holes, sprinkle some on the root system so it comes right in contact with the roots. And then put those plants in there, tamp the soil down, and then I will water them with a combination of fungicide 5 from Fertilome. So it's got a disease control, which is great for preventing diseases that sometimes show up in the soil or on the plants. Then I've got like the combination of the compost tea that we use. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of the concentrate Bigfoot in there as well. And then I use the green aminos. And the combination of those 3 products really gets the root system established faster. The green aminos help the plants so they don't go through transplant shock, and they just absolutely take off. And it doesn't take very long. And those roots have expanded all the way through that soil that I've loosened up, and they'll fill that entire basin in just a couple of weeks with new roots. And then when it's got all this new root growth on there, all of a sudden your plants just take off.
Really
they take off like crazy. Yeah. So it's not unusual for us to have tomatoes by, the middle of July, 14th to the 24th of July. We're usually picking our first tomatoes because they just get established so fast. After I get those planted, watered in with our concoction, then they get a aquadome or a wall of water on them just to protect. And some of the new walls of water are opaque instead of clear, and so they reflect some of the light off, so your plants are less likely to get sunburned. Oh, because that happens sometimes. The plants will get a little bit of sunburn, and the aquadomes are opaque as well, so they reflect some of that light off. So that really helps with the transplant shock too. But then it holds the heat longer at night. So even though it's really nice and warm during the day, we're still having cool nights, and those plants kind of will go through shock because it gets a little bit cold
down
at night.
In the 40s.
Yeah, it really does. And so by protecting them just a little bit, it really enhances their growth because they don't stop growing at night because it's gotten cold. They stay warm longer, and so they'll continue to grow through the evening and the nighttime hours. And so that really, really helps immensely.
Okay.
Yeah. Then I'll go back a week or so later, and I'll hit them with the same compost tea, green aminos, disease control combination, and that just really keeps enhancing the root system, gives them the nutrient that they need. And then at that point, I'll start to use a more balanced fertilizer for them, one that's got all the micronutrients in there. So maybe all-purpose from Monterey or Grow Big from Fox Farm. Those are some really good options for all those fruiting vegetables. So fruiting vegetables need a little bit higher phosphorus, a little bit higher potassium in the NPK formulation. So not as much nitrogen, but the phosphorus and potassium are critical. So those particular fertilizers have a little bit more phosphorus and potassium in there to really help with flowering and fruit production and fruit set as well for those plants.
So now when it comes to fertilizing those new plants, do you start off on week by week and then kind of start to taper off as the plant gets bigger?
I'll use the Green Grow tomato vegetable fertilizer as a slow release, and so that kind of gets sprinkled on the ground around the plants after I get them planted. And then once a week I'll use the compost tea, disease control, Bigfoot formula on them until they really start setting fruit. Okay. And then at that point, it's been usually 6 weeks or so, I'll hit them with the Green Grow one more time, and then I stop doing the liquid fertilizer for them, so I don't have to continually do that throughout the summertime. When they start setting fruit, they've already started that magic process of setting and ripening, and I stop fertilizing at that point.
Now, I've heard some people say that when they go to plant, say for example, tomato plants, they'll also pluck off any blossoms. And they'll also try to bury that plant even further.
You can plant them deeper. Yeah. So you can plant them much deeper than what they are in the pot. And the tomatoes have fine root hairs all the way along the stem. So if you plant those stems deeper, they will root out even more. So you get an even bigger root system. So some of our customers that are avid gardeners, they like to get the big tall plants that are a little leggy because then they will just plant them deeper.
Just bury it.
Yeah, just bury them. And some people will even lay them on their side and then kind of point the tip up. and bury them all the way along the stem so they have that much more root system to sustain and to help the plants. Yeah, because the bigger the root system, the more nutrient and water they can pick up, the more fruit they'll set, and the more they'll ripen that fruit up. And so getting a bigger root system is critical for tomatoes especially. So that's why the Bigfoot makes such a difference on the tomatoes, because you get a nice, really big root system on them, and you'll have just like the best tomatoes ever.
And you start off with the granulated Bigfoot, but then water in
with the concentrate.
After that.
Yeah. And so we'll use the Bigfoot in our compost tea process as well too. So we've got a couple of different products that'll work for that. But the Bigfoot, the micro brew from Fox Farm, the kangaroos from Fox Farm, those are all full of beneficial microbes and microorganisms and mycorrhiza, and so they'll colonize the root system of your plant with a beneficial fungus that goes out in search of water and nutrient, brings it right to your plants. And so between all those products, you can use one or you can use a couple in combination, but it really focuses on getting your soil really, really healthy, and then helping that plant create as large of a root system as possible. And when that happens, that's when they really do produce for you.
Okay. Yeah. Now, what about tips for planting from seed? Is there anything that people can do to prep the seeds or anything like that?
Right. I planted my corn last week, and I planted my beans last week as well too. And if you want to do squashes or melons or cucumbers from seed, plenty of time. We planted like directly right out in the garden from seed on multiple occasions. This year I started them indoors a couple of weeks ago, so they're like perfect to transplant out right now. But I wouldn't do tomatoes or peppers from seed at this point. It's going to be too late. Yeah. So they're not going to produce until like September, and we want them producing sooner than that. But cucumbers are only like 50 days. They'll produce in like 50 days.
Real quick.
Yeah. So you plant the seeds right now, you'll be harvesting just right after the 4th of July. And the same thing with zucchinis and crooknecks as well too. They're very, very quick to produce. And so I do kind of the same thing. I'll dig an area, and I'll take that soil and I'll work my transplanting mix together in with it, but I don't dig it as deep. I just dig a kind of a small shallow basin for them. And then I'll put that nice soil mix back in there, and then I'll just kind of pull the soil back just a half inch or so, put my seeds in there. And if I'm doing cucumbers or squashes, I'll put like 4 or 5 seeds in there, and then cover those up with that planting mix. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of extra coconut coir over the top because it really does help hold the moisture. And then I water them with like Monterey's Seed Start. The Seed Starter will get those seeds to germinate and to take off a lot faster. So the Seed Starter from Monterey is amazing, and so we'll use that. And then once they germinate and start to come up, I'll do basically the same fertilizer combination on those that I do on my tomatoes and peppers. And so it really does make a huge difference. You don't have to worry about transplant shock because the plants, you're not taking them from one location and putting them in another.
Right.
But putting the Bigfoot or the kangaroos or the compost tea on those small seedlings, it just really makes those root systems take off and get established, and your plants will do better. So last year my corn was less than adequate. It just didn't do very well. And we'd put a lot of compost and a lot of organic matter into our garden, and it used up all of our nitrogen. And so my corn was not as good. Even though I side dressed it and did everything that I usually do with the corn, it just didn't produce very well, and it was definitely nitrogen deficient. And so this year I decided to plant the corn a little bit differently. I've been using my dad's old-fashioned corn planter, which is it's kind of like a V shape. And what it does is it drops the seeds down into the point of the V, and then when you collapse the V, it opens up the bottom and it drops the seeds out. And it's this really cool device for planting corn. It drops a couple seeds in each spot, but I can't fertilize it when I plant that way. And so I decided this year to just use my furrower and just make a shallow, 1 or 2 inch deep furrow. And then I put fertilizer down in there, so a high nitrogen, slow release fertilizer for all the corn, and then I was able to do the Bigfoot on it. as well too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so this year my corn not only is getting more nitrogen, it's getting the Bigfoot
root stimulator.
And I've never been able
well.
to use the Bigfoot on the corn before. So I'm really, really curious to see how well it performs. And if it's like infinitely better than what I've done in the past, then we will know exactly what the difference is. So I've never done Bigfoot on the corn because it's always been too difficult to like apply. So this year did open trenches, did that slow release nitrogen, that long lasting nitrogen, and then treated it with the Bigfoot. And I'm really, really excited to see how it works because we've never been able to do it before.
You may end up with a lot of corn.
We could have a lot of corn. I did 5 50-foot rows. So we have 250 feet of corn. Hopefully we're not sharing too much with the raccoons this year.
Yeah, you got to keep the fence up.
Stupid raccoons.
That was one of the things that I noticed this year out of the blue. My daughter, we were home for lunch the other day, and she said, "Dad, what's that out in the garden?" And sure enough, we had a muskrat come in, and I hadn't seen those for a couple years. We hadn't had any problems with them.
One of our employees has a dog, and so he's got a dog door at his house. He lives in River Heights, and he said they heard noises one night in the kitchen, and they're just like, wonder what's going on in there. And they went in the kitchen, and some stuff had kind of been moved around, but they're just like, I wonder what's going on. So they set up one of their video cameras and to see what was going on, because they could tell that something had been in there. And next night, raccoon in having a snack on the bar with the cat food. And so they had a raccoon in their house, and it wasn't a little raccoon either. It was a big raccoon.
It had a few trips to the cat food bowl,
into the cat food on multiple occasions. So they are out and active. Already.
Yeah.
But we've noticed that the mosquitoes haven't been active yet. So I'm kind of surprised. I thought we had a really wet April, so I was thinking, we could have a lot of mosquitoes. They haven't been terrible, but there have been some. Have been some. So maybe that hard frost, that really hard frost, the end of April, may have knocked a lot of them down. And it may have knocked a bunch of grasshoppers down as well, too, because it was cold enough to probably kill mosquitoes and grasshoppers, because it was cold enough to kill people's trees.
Yeah, so even though it took out all of our fruit blossoms, hey, at least we won't be dealing with as many insects.
Might cut the insects down, since we had a very mild winter, so we're concerned that we may have a lot of insects. And we've seen tons of aphids so far this year. So aphid invasion. We've been selling a lot of ladybugs and a lot of lacewings. And I've got more coming. Hopefully they'll be showing up. Got my fingers crossed they show up today. We should be getting some more ladybugs and lacewings. If not, it'll be the first part of next week. But those are great for controlling aphids. But we do have some very safe insecticides you can use if they're on your vegetable plants or on your flowers as well, too, that really do a great job. So triple action from Fertilome is a great option. The spinosad soap, if you want to go with a couple different organic versions of a safe insecticide, the triple action and the spinosad soap, excellent for that. You can use those right up to the minute you're going to harvest your plants. So that's how low toxicity they are for people. So you can spray those right up until you're going to harvest, and then just make sure, if you pick and decide to eat it, just rinse it off, and you're like good to go.
You're fine.
Yeah, so really good to go. And then we've got the new Bug Blaster Lambda version, and that's excellent for fruits and vegetables, but great for the yard as well too. Excellent for mosquitoes, box elder bugs, spiders. Had somebody in yesterday that had ants like crazy. Just the ants were invading their house, kind of like the raccoon, going for the cat food. And they used that Bug Blaster Lambda, and they came back in. They're like, wonderful, just took care of all the ants. So they didn't have ants in their kitchen anymore. So there's some good options out there, but I'm kind of surprised not too many mosquitoes, but aphids. And then, you said you had like whiteflies. We're going
something
crazy.
I noticed them on a small little rose bush the first of the week, and I thought, that's a little odd.
Yeah.
But then by about the end of the week, they had quadrupled.
Yeah,
and
probably moved as well, too.
Had taken over the entire space between rose bushes. We have some bleeding hearts in that area, and they were just going to town.
They really like the roses. They like grapes as well, too. So I've had quite a few gardeners come in, and they've had whiteflies on their grapes. So the grapes are going crazy. Really some very good options for controlling whiteflies. They're a little harder to kill than aphids, but you could still start with the triple action or the spinosad that I recommended for the aphids. Quite effective on a lot of those smaller insects. So it'll work on mites, it'll work on aphids and whiteflies and thrips and leaf hoppers. Does a good job on those. If you're dealing with larger insects, you may want to go with something a little bit more potent. But the spinosad soap is great for caterpillars as well, too. So yesterday I also had multiple people in that had cabbage loopers on their broccoli and cabbage already. So little green worms that love to like nibble on the cabbage and the broccoli. Already seeing those as well, too. And tobacco budworms that get into your geraniums and petunias. So we're already seeing those. The spinosad soap is a great option for those because that natural bacteria will kill caterpillars almost instantly on contact, as well as if they ingest it. So very, very effective for all those insects that are starting to pop up right now in the gardens. And we're trying to encourage our customers, even the ones that don't have fruit, to try and take advantage of the down season where they don't have as much fruit to really get your trees healthy. So maybe in the bottom hour, we could talk about how to do that. Since you're not spraying all summer for codling moth, if you don't have any apples or pears, no use spraying for that.
Right.
But there's some other things that you can do to really get your trees healthy and prepared and ready for next year so we can enjoy our harvest next year.
All right. Well, we'll talk more about that coming up in just a minute as you're listening to The Garden Guide here on KVNU. I'm Will Feelright with a look at this hour's top stories. Well, the fight over that controversial data center in Box Elder County is heading to court. Now, organizers with the Box Elder Accountability Referendum, or BEAR, say that they plan to appeal the county attorney's recent decision to reject their petitions. Now, the group had hoped to place the approval of the massive Stratus project on the November ballot, but on Thursday, the county attorney ruled that the commission's initial approval of the data center was a non-referable administrative act. However, BEAR organizers argue that the resolutions permanently reshape land governance and redirect significant tax revenue, making them legislative actions subject to a public vote. Now, the multi-billion-dollar project, which is being backed by Canadian billionaire Kevin O'Leary, is proposed for the remote Hansel Valley area. And a Utah mother is sharing the emotional moment that she was reunited with her two young boys in Mexico days after they were the subjects of a statewide Amber Alert. Now, a new video that was posted to social media shows Lizzie Tomich running into a building courtyard in San Felipe, Mexico, to scoop up 22-month-old Will and 10-month-old Wesley for a tearful hug. Now, authorities safely located the boys on Tuesday with their father, Dan Richmond, 2 days after issuing that Amber Alert. Now, police say the alert was triggered after Richmond had failed to show up for a scheduled custody exchange in Saratoga Springs and had stopped responding to calls and text messages. Now, in her social media post, Tomich wrote that the words could not begin to describe the joy that she felt with being reunited with her sons. Well, showers coming, but we've got sunshine returning for the second half of the weekend, and it looks like by the first of next week, temperatures will be back into the high 70s to low 80s. Will Feelright for KVNU News.
Good morning, this is Judson Richards. We'll begin in the NHL. The Eastern Conference goes to the Carolina Hurricanes.
They finally cleared the hurdle, this group of Carolina Hurricanes. The top team in the Eastern Conference are going to the Stanley Cup Final as they beat the Montreal Canadiens 6-1. They win the series 4-1, answering all of the questions and closing the book on all of the doubters. Get ready, folks. Lord Stanley is going to be paying a visit to Carolina one more time.
99.9 The Fan. The Hurricanes are headed to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 2006. They'll face the Vegas Golden Knights Tuesday in Game 1. Now to baseball in Los Angeles. Dodgers have won 5 in a row, hosting the Phillies, who are on a 3-game win streak. Bottom of the third, 2-0 Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani at the plate.
Wheeler, big right-hander, stands on the first base side of the rubber. Fly ball to right and deep. Garcia to the wall. A home run. Ohtani's 10th home run of the year. Into the Philly bullpen.
The call on AM 570 LA Sports. Dodgers going to win 4-2. Phillies' Kyle Schwarber hit his league-leading 22nd home run. White Sox and the Tigers at the rate. Perhaps the best third baseman in Chicago plays on the south side. Sox down a run in the 10th inning. Miguel Vargas with the runner on.
A swing and a drive.
Come on.
Deep left. Ball game over. A 2-run homer.
No way.
Not again. We're headed home.
Come on.
4-3 the final.
The call on ESPN 1000. The White Sox are winners 4-3.
As America celebrates its 250th birthday, the Cache Valley Media Group asks, why do you love America? We want to hear from you. Call in and record a short message sharing what America means to you, your family, your freedom, or your favorite traditions. We'll be playing select messages on the air all summer long. Join the fun and get complete instructions at CacheValleyDaily.com today. And happy 250th birthday, America.
Taking the guesswork out of gardening. It's the Garden Guide with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Welcome back to the Garden Guide on this Saturday morning. We'll feel right along with Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden as we were talking insects a few minutes ago and talking about some things that you can do for your fruit trees coming up in just a minute. But before we get back into the discussion, Mark, is we aren't taking calls for this show, but we are talking about just a number of questions that have come up over the last week at Anderson Seed and Garden and throughout neighborhoods. Mark, what's going to be going on today at Anderson's?
So great things happening at Anderson's. We've got pansies in 6-inch containers that are $3. You can't beat it. They're in full bloom. They look great. Huge root systems on them. They just need to be put into shady locations now. So can't have them in full sun anymore. It's going to get too hot. So those 6-inch pansies, perfect time to put those, to add some color into your shady locations. And they're in full bloom. And I've got every color from white to blue to yellow to purple and everything in between. They look amazing. So for $3, you're getting jumbo, really big 6-inch pansies that just look amazing. We've got a great shipment of perennials that just came in from 2 different companies. And so we've got lots of color, lots of really great varieties to choose from on the perennials. So probably one of the best selections we've had all year on perennials right now. Good looking plants, lots of color, and lots of buds that are just going to be opening up so you can enjoy those. But we do have some of our 3.5-inch geraniums are still on sale. They're half price. So if you need some geraniums to add into your garden, great time to get the geraniums. I think they're regularly $4.99, and we've been doing them for like $2.50, sometimes $2.25. So some really good deals on the 3.5-inch geraniums. Our 4-inch waves are still on sale. Our jumbo 6-packs of strawberries, those are on sale as well too. So they're half price as well. So some really good deals on wave petunias, geraniums, strawberries, lots of great perennials that have shown up. And then our 6-inch pansies. So lots happening at Anderson's this weekend.
We were down there last weekend and noticed still got a beautiful selection of rose bushes still. Some trees that are still in stock.
Roses look great. I've got an amazing selection of trees that start with maples and go all the way to zelkovas. So we've got lots of shade, lots of flowering trees, and a bunch of new shrubs just came in as well too. Got some new Japanese maples also. So we ran out of the Japanese maples early, and then we've just got another shipment in, and I've got some more coming early next week as well too. So Japanese maples, we're trying to get some more of the hardy hibiscus. We blew through all the ones that we got in, and they just disappeared in almost one day, I swear. And we've got some more hopefully coming as well too. Really good selection of hydrangeas too. So hydrangeas great for shadier locations. Lots and lots of flowers on those. They bloom almost all summer long, and so hydrangeas are great if you've got some shady locations and you want your yard to look nice. Hydrangeas, great addition. And we've got white and pink and reds and purples and blues on the hydrangeas. So lots of different colors on those as well.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we were talking about trees just before we went into the bottom of the hour news break. And I think a lot of people, myself included, lost all of our blossoms this year on our fruit trees. But this is a chance to really get trees to thrive,
right?
And so that you can prepare for next year.
Get them healthy for next year.
Yeah.
And just because we don't have fruit on there doesn't mean they're not going to get bugs or diseases. And so it's important that we kind of keep on top of that, because if you don't take care of it this year, they'll be right back again next year. And then if you do have a really good fruit crop, you'll be catching up from behind, basically. And so what we're encouraging our fruit growers this year is to make sure and fertilize your trees. Since they're not producing, is a really great time to get them as healthy as possible. So we've got a couple of good fertilizers that are slow release that you could apply once or twice this summer. Like Fertilome Tree and Shrub Food would be great. Fruit Tree and citrus and pecan fertilizer from Fertilome has like a higher dose of micronutrients in there for the fruit trees. So that's a really good option as well too. And those will last like 2 to 4 months depending on which fertilizer you use. And so you could do an application right now and then maybe do one latter part of August, and it would feed them for the entire season with just those 2 applications. Okay. And then for bugs and diseases, we're recommending a combination of copper soap. So like a copper fungicide, mix that right in with an insecticide like the Bug Blaster Lambda would be great. Or if you want to use the fruit tree spray from Fertilome, that's an organic option that does basically the same thing. And it's got disease control as well as the insect control in there. And we're starting to see powdery mildew on trees. We're seeing peach leaf curl. We're seeing leaf spots. We're seeing rust. So weather conditions have been perfect for diseases. So those types of combinations, you wouldn't have to spray them like all summer long like you do if you have, codling moth.
Right.
But, I would definitely try and do that early June, like we're talking like right now. And then again, probably sometime in August or early September to try and control diseases and insects throughout the summer, so you just don't have those problems lingering and wintering over and causing issues for you next year as well too. Okay. So great time to feed those trees. The key is a slow release nitrogen with a little bit of phosphorus and potassium in there, but a high micronutrient will really, really help. So make sure it's got a micronutrient package in there. That's why we're suggesting the Fertilome Tree and Shrub Food or the Fertilome Fruit Pecan and the Fruit Citrus and Pecan Fertilizer. It's not that we have citrus and pecans around here, but it's really good fertilizer for all kinds of fruit trees. And berries as well too. So it's really good for the berries. But that great combination fertilizers for fruit trees with the micronutrients. And then just be aware of an insecticide, fungicide combination, right now, and kind of keep an eye on it throughout the summer, and then maybe a fall application for sure to try and prevent issues that may be carrying over until next year.
I know around our house we used the tree spikes for years.
Yeah.
And would drop those in, and then we were looking at it and thinking, I wonder if there's a better way. And I remember one of the guys from Fertilome was over during the spring open house, and he said, try this. And we moved over to the citrus fruit tree fertilizer, and just the best stuff ever.
Oh, it really works well.
It's really, really good.
It really works well. And the fertilizer spikes are very effective, but it kind of localizes the fertilizer all in one location. And so if you've got smaller trees, it's really hard to do the spikes because you're either going to over fertilize or you're going to only have a few spikes in a few locations, and it's not going to be able to pick up all the nutrition. And so a granulated fertilizer is very easy to just broadcast underneath the canopy of the tree, especially out around the drip line.
Yeah.
And then as that fertilizer breaks down, your tree's root system is all right in that location
to grab it,
and it just picks it up, and they go like crazy. Yeah. Talking about trees, I've had a lot of people in the store, trees got frozen. So all their leaves got frozen, whether it's a, Japanese maple or ginkgo or honey locust got hit really hard. Sycamores got hit really hard. Our customers that use the boomerang on their trees are coming back and saying, "Oh, my trees are looking great. All new growth coming out on them. They're recovering. They're looking really, really good." And so boomerang really, really does make a huge difference. If you had some trees that got damaged this spring from the frost, still a great time to put that on. And then I was actually at a friend's house last night, and they had a pear tree that was looking a little rough, and it had a little bit of frost damage on it, but they had blister mites, and then the powdery mildew was showing up on them as well too. So we're probably going to see a lot of blister mites on apples and pears, and that's something that we don't necessarily need to spray like right now, because once the leaves have been infected, they're going to just kind of look that way all summer long. But in the fall, we're going to try and treat that and prevent the blister mites from carrying over and bothering them again next year. Yeah. But powdery mildew, definitely want to get that under control. So organic options would be the copper soap. The fungicide 5 would be excellent from Fertilome. Those are two really good, effective organic options. And if you want something systemic, then I would definitely do the F-Stop from Fertilome for powdery mildew on fruit trees, but they're also completely safe to use on berries, so small fruits. If you're like seeing it in your raspberries, your blackberries, safe on vegetables, flowers, shrubs, trees, lawns. These are some very general purpose fungicides, but very, very effective and very safe for use around edibles as well too. So copper soap's great, been around forever. Fungicide 5 is a beneficial bacteria that kills other diseases, and it's amazing. I love the fungicide 5. It does such a great job. That's one product. Then the copper soap's the same, that you can spray it right up to the minute you're going to harvest, rinse it off, and eat it, and not have to worry about it at all. So yeah, really, really great products, but they're good because they're so effective and they work on such a broad range of diseases as well too.
So don't neglect the trees, even though you may say, well, there's no fruit, so I'm just going
to forget about them this year.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are kind of upset, annoyed, angry, whatever adjective we want to use, that the fruit's gone this year. But take advantage of the opportunity to really get your trees healthy, and you will see, a lot of improvement next year on your trees. Like, they'll grow a lot this year, and then next year they'll be ready to produce like crazy for you. And events like this happen, but they don't happen very often. There's been many years, I remember growing up, where there was like a couple years in a row where they were doing huge frost warnings because we're going to lose all the fruit. And that has happened multiple times in my lifetime. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it is fairly unusual for that to happen. Yeah.
All right. Well, another question I'm sure you're getting a lot right now is watering, because we seem to have this trend where it gets really hot.
Yeah.
And then it's getting cold. We're getting a few showers this weekend.
Right.
And then it's going to get really hot this coming week.
And we finally had to turn our sprinklers on. And we went as far into May as we possibly could. Yeah. But we finally got them turned on this week. And we've been using the Back to Green to start off with, and I think I'm ready to put my application of Hydrotain on for the summer. Yeah, so the Hydrotain is one of those products that will increase your absorption and retention of water in your soil, whether it's around vegetables or fruits or flowers. The cool thing about the Hydrotain is it is safe to use around edibles also. So it's a naturally occurring product. It's food safe. I wouldn't recommend you eat it, but it's not going to hurt. You can use it on pastures where your animals are grazing. It's non-toxic to people, but what it does once it gets into the soil it will make the soil so it'll absorb and retain moisture so much longer than it can by itself. So it increases its ability to absorb and hold water by 30 to 50%.
Wow.
And so it's a huge savings on water because every time you water, it's going to hold 30 to 50% more water in a location where your plants can pick it up and utilize it. And so you're not going to lose water to evaporation as much. You're not going to lose water to like too porous of soil. If you've got like really rocky soil, it's going to help that soil retain that water a lot longer. Or sand, it's going to, if you've got really sandy soil, sometimes the water, it seems like the water just goes right through the soil. This is going to make it so your soil is more absorbent and it retains that water a lot longer. And we found that you can cut your watering by 30 to 50% on your turf or in your flower beds or in your shrub plantings or even in your garden by using the Hydrotain, and it lasts 90 days. So it'll last through the entire hot, dry part of the season, and it will help you decrease your water by 30 to 50% and still have the same results as what you've had in the past.
Okay.
So great way to do that. And if you're concerned about how much to water, it really depends on your sprinklers for your turf, or if you're using soaker hoses or drippers. My sister-in-law was in yesterday, and she lives down in Pleasant Grove. And so they are converting their front yard over to more of a water-friendly landscaping, and so they're putting in a lot of drip systems. And it's really funny because we're talking about, she's like, did you know that a drip system uses 90% less water than a sprinkler? And I was like, no,
really?
I'd never heard that. I think we said that like 500 times on the show. So it's actually really funny because she's like instructing me on how to do it. And I was like, awesome. I love it. Yeah. But a sprinkler compared to a soaker hose is going to do the same job or even better job using 70% less water.
Yeah.
So that's a huge savings. Just switching from a sprinkler to a soaker hose, and like say you have a sprinkler doing your roses or your flower beds, instead of letting the sprinklers do that, put a soaker in there, and you can weave the soaker in through the plants, and it will water that whole area with the soaker hose, but it's going to use 70% less water than the sprinkler. But if you switch to a drip system and you use drip hoses instead, which you can also do the same thing and weave those through. I've got drip hoses that have 1 gallon per hour emitters spaced at 12 inches apart, and I have them spaced at 6 inches apart. So each emitter will drip 1 gallon per hour in that location where it's at. And if you have the 6-inch spacing, I mean, it will saturate a really nice area. Yeah. 90% less water. So she is exactly, correct. It's going to use 90% less water, but it's going to be more effective, and it's going to be way, way more efficient at watering your plants if you can convert to that. And I've got drippers at home that I use for my giant pumpkins. I've got some I use for my tomato plants. And seriously, they're 4 or 5 years old, and I'm still using the same ones.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can just gather them up at the end of the season. I put them in storage and then pull them back out the next year, and they work awesome.
Okay.
So, so no problems. You can reuse and reuse and reuse, but 70 to 90% less water to do the same job if you're willing to switch over to a soaker or to a drip system.
It's great.
Yeah.
And now if you have overwatered, one of the things that you can look for, and I was spotting this with my wife the other day with a new little rose bush that I think I've mentioned a few times. We just planted, and she came in and said, some of the leaves are turning yellow. Do you think it's got some kind of a disease? And I went out, touched around the base of it. It was just soaking. And I said, no. We just need to hold off on watering it a little bit.
Yeah. If you've got heavy clay soils or you've got some hard pan down deeper, when you water plants, it has really nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And so if you're watering like on a daily basis or even every other day, and you've got soil that's like that, it's just like putting it into a bowl, and it'll sit there for days until it finally evaporates out. And the deeper the hole, the longer that moisture is going to stick around.
There.
And so doing that, if you put too much water in your bowl and then your plant's standing in that water, it starts to rot the root hairs off, especially the fine root hairs that are really effective at picking up good water and nutrient for your plants. And so your plants will start to suffer because they'll actually look like they're not getting enough water. I mean, they look very similar, and then they can't pick up the nutrient because it's been diluted so much, and so they're not getting the nutrition that they need. They're not able to utilize the water, and so then they will start to look like they haven't been fed or watered at all, and then you do more.
Yeah, and that's the worst part about it is you look at it and you see, those leaves are getting yellow. I'll put more water on it.
Your inclination is to do more, and really the best thing to do is to go out there and to dig down into the soil and see how moist the soil is. So there's times like with the planters on Center Street that I'll go out there and it's a hot day and I'll look at the surface and it looks like it's bone dry. Like it looks really, really dry. But then I will take my fingers and I'll dig down 2 or 3 inches and it's like moist down 2 or 3 inches, which is right where the root system of the plants are. So it's like, all right, these guys are great. We'll go another day or two and they'll be fine. So we're trying not to overwater in our planters, trying not to overwater in our flower and landscape areas. Garden, same thing. I'm only watering like every 3 to 5 days, depending on what the weather's like. And I use soaker hoses too, so I'm using a lot less water. And I use drippers on specific plants because they're just so efficient. I don't have to water and feed the weeds.
Yeah.
Which is a huge savings in time and effort. Yeah. And then with your lawn, probably 2 waterings a week is highly recommended. And if you've got pop-up sprinklers, you're about 20 to 25 minutes on each zone with the pop-ups. If you have gear-driven sprinklers that move, that move from place to place, or if they rotate, or if you've got rainbirds, those are probably more like 40 to 50 minutes. And if you leave them on for that long, you'll get somewhere between 1 inch and 3/4 of an inch of water applied with each application. And what USU Extension recommends to really keep your lawn healthy and looking really good is to do 1 inch to 1.5 inches per week throughout the hot, dry part of the summer. So twice a week, if you're doing 1 inch, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch with each application, twice a week is ample.
Okay.
It's ample. And if you're in a community that's going to start restricting a little bit, if you use the hydrotane, you could go every, once a week, and your lawn would stress a little bit in between those waterings, but it will keep it going.
Hydrotane will help utilize that water.
It will. And if it rains, it'll pull that water down into the soil better and hold it there for your plants. So it'll make your rainstorms more effective, so you don't have to water as much, but it'll make your own watering last longer and be more effective. So you could get away with, a good watering once a week, and your lawn will not look perfect through the summer, but it's going to look pretty It's going to look pretty good. It's going to look pretty good. So if you're concerned about watering, but you still want your yard and landscape to look good, water-saving products like hydrotane or the Back to Green are worth every penny of your investment. Like it will save you money on your water bill. It will save your plants through the summertime. And 4 years ago, when we had like the 3 years of drought in a row, that was year number 3. A lot of restrictions going on in the valley. We had many, many customers use the hydrotane, and they all came back after that season and said, this stuff is amazing. I'm hooked for life. Like it really kept my yard looking great, and I was only watering every 7 to 10 days because that's what we were allowed to water. We may get to that point this year. We may not. If we have a really wet June, we could be into the latter part of July before we're even like worried about water issues. So that is a possibility. So let's keep our fingers crossed. We have a moist month coming up, and that should help a lot. But there's things that we can do as gardeners and as homeowners to really do our part to conserve and to save water. And using some of these products will really allow you to go a lot longer between waterings and be more effective with the water that you do use.
All right. Well, we've answered a lot of questions here on the show. We only have 2 minutes left. And so a quick reminder today, some special sales going on at Anderson Seed and Garden.
Jumbo strawberries in 6 packs. They're on sale for half price. Wave petunias, 4-inch, half price also. Geraniums, 3.5-inch, they're half price. Might even be better. My wife was tempted to like drop the prices even more on those. So they might even be better prices. Got a whole bunch of new perennials that just arrived. Lots of colors, lots of styles, full sun, full shade, everything in between. And then our 6-inch pansies, great deal on those. They are $3 for the 6-inch pansies. Full bloom, huge root systems on them, ready to go into a shady location.
And everything can go in the ground now. So
get it planted.
Really, this is the time to get into Anderson Seed and Garden. Get your plants, get your seeds, get them into the ground. Use a little of that Bigfoot that we were talking about earlier. You'll find just tremendous results from it. I can tell you for sure. We've seen it in our plants. And so great time to be able to plant. And if you missed a part of the show, as always, you can go back and listen to portions of the show or listen to the show in their entirety. Just go to the KVNU library or to Anderson Seed and Garden's website, and you can enjoy the podcasts. And join us again next week for the Garden Guide here on KVNU.
Keeping you informed 24/7. News Talk KVNU Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.